Good morning, friends. My name is Darren St. George, and welcome to another Sal St. George virtual road trip. If you've been with us before, hi, good morning. It's wonderful to see you. If this is your first time joining us, thank you for joining. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, because this is how we start our week every week. Each Monday morning, we celebrate entertainment's leaders, legends, and icons, and this morning is no exception. This morning, Sal is taking us on a virtual road trip all the way to Independence, Missouri, to the Ginger Rogers Museum, and we are so looking forward to it. We're very lucky today. We're joined by Marge Pidgeot, who's going to be giving us a tour of the facility, as well as telling us tons of history about Ginger herself. Please be sure to keep your camera on mute and your microphone throughout today's presentation. We appreciate that. If you do have any questions, though, we want to hear from you. We want to know your thoughts. So please share them in the chat, either on Zoom or Facebook. We'll be over there keeping track, and I'm happy to relay any questions you may have. Next week, we are talking about the John Wayne story. The John Wayne story, the Duke himself, is next Monday, right here, same place. You can join us for that. As always, we have John Higgins behind the scenes, making sure everything runs smoothly. But now let's get to the man of the hour. Sal, Dad, are you there? Here we go.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We're really excited about today's adventure, and that's really what it is. And I don't even, oh, by the way, that is my favorite clip of Ginger and Fred together. That's one. I can't think of any other clip that stands out to me as joyful, as graceful as that particular song.
I think there's something that makes it so great is the contrast between that energetic tap and just that smooth, elegant ballet that, or not ballet, but
it feels like
dancing, ballroom dancing that they're doing together. It's just incredible to see the talent that they possess.
You know what we ought to do? We ought to talk to Marge and see if she has a favorite scene.
Yeah, let's get the expert in. Marge, good morning. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
How are you doing?
Do you have a favorite scene, Marge?
Yeah, and that one is it. I was so glad that you picked it, because it shows both their tap and their ballroom dancing, and it was just amazing. And some little known fact that I found out about Ginger from one of her assistants several years ago. She told me that Ginger practiced for hours every day, 7 days a week. She practiced dancing until she couldn't anymore.
Yeah. You have to. It's a full-time job. That's what you're doing. Yeah. It's use it or lose it. You're never. It's not riding a bike. You're not that fast, that elegant inherently. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Also, what's nice about that clip is that it fits into the storyline seamlessly. If you haven't seen the movie, you have to see how they intertwine this entire dance number so it makes sense. It's not just them dancing spontaneously. It fits into the story.
Well, we should say we're talking about Swing Time.
Swing Time, yes.
Yes. What is it?
1936, I think.
36? I think that sounds right. Yep.
Yeah.
Swing Time.
Okay. So, all right, Marge, how did you get involved with Ginger?
Well, my mother and grandmother were big Ginger Rogers fans, and so naturally we grew up watching her movies. And watching classic movies, but my mother was a dancer and an actor, and she got me into dancing and acting. And so later on, my husband and I got interested in doing real estate investments, and we were getting ready to purchase a home in Independence, to buy another one. And I told my daughter, who is our financial manager and our bookkeeper, that we were getting ready to do that. So there was going to be some money taken out of the bank. And she came down 10 minutes later, running to me, and she says, "Mom, you have to buy this house." I said, "What house?" She goes, "The Ginger Rogers house is for sale." Well, everybody in Independence knows that there is a house where Ginger Rogers was born, even if they've never seen it. And so I went over there immediately. My husband was out of town at the time. I took a look at it, and I put an offer on, and I put a down payment. And then he called me later on that evening. I said, well, I bought a house today. So he says, you did what? But after he found out what it was, he agreed it was a good buy. So we got with the intention of restoring it to as close to original as possible, and then turning it into a museum so people could enjoy it. But as you know, circumstances came along that made it difficult. People were not coming to the museum. And then when COVID hit, it was just shut down. So we had to sell the property. But before we did that, I had 3D photography taken by a professional. And then we went through and took pictures of everything. So we have everything as it was, so people can actually take a tour virtually of the house.
So this is exactly why we do what we do, Marge, because we want to try to encourage people to help support the small museums. And you're a great example of that. We really appreciate you being here today. It must be heartbreaking to lose the property.
Well, it was, but it was also during a very stressful time during COVID, and we knew some things had to change. And luckily, we found a diehard Ginger Rogers fan who bought the house.
Oh, great.
And we had several offers on the table, and we sold it to her because we knew she would take care of it. And she also offered to let us have people view the house once a year when we do Ginger Rogers Festival, which, of course, we haven't done the last 2 years, but I'm hoping to next year.
Yeah, because of COVID, everything has been put on a back burner.
Right.
All right. So what did you specifically do to create an online presence for the museum?
Well, we are in the process right now of creating the virtual museum. So I have a presentation, and then I have a 3D walkthrough tour. And we are going to do that today, but for the future, when this is completed, it's going to be a 4-hour presentation. And I will have interviews with people who knew her as well. And so that will be a lot more intensive and with a lot more information after we get that completed.
Okay, I've got to ask it. I know people are wondering back watching right now, were Fred and Ginger friends?
They were close friends. Yes. They went on one date together, and after that they were just good friends forever. They never had they were never lovers, that some people want to say. They weren't, but they were very good close friends.
And coincidentally, today, in 1933, Fred Astaire got married to Phyllis Potter on this date.
Yes.
And we're also celebrating Ginger's birthday, right?
Ginger's birthday is coming up July 16th.
Look at that.
She will be 110 years old.
And she looks great for 110.
Yes, she does.
Okay, let's get into your presentation.
Okay, well, I'm going to share my screen then here. And
trust me, we're going to have questions as you go through it.
Oh, I'm sure we will. Just let me know if there are any questions. So this is the house shortly after.
Try one more time. Hang on. We still see video, not the screen share yet.
Okay, I clicked on screen share. Let me try to hit escape here.
Make sure you're just going through screen share through Zoom.
Yeah, I did that.
I saw some really interesting names popping up as participants today, Darren.
I know. I can see so many familiar names on here, and even people are writing in saying that they had to be here. Specifically, we have Dan Bubeo.
Dan is here. I saw Dan's name pop up.
Yeah, saying he couldn't miss it since he said Ginger is one of his all-time favorite actresses. So that's great. I'm glad you're here, Dan. Good morning. Marge, how are we doing? If you hit screen...
Hey, I just did it again. Let's see if that works.
I think so. Yep, I see things happening. There you go.
Okay, how's that?
Great. Beautiful.
All right, here we go. So this is the house shortly after we completed the interior and the exterior, minus the roof. The roof was done later, and that is in my background right now.
Marge,
So that's
I'm
what
sorry
it looks like.
if I could interject right as you get started. I just saw we have a chat from Brian saying good afternoon from London. I believe Brian's one of our regulars who come here, and I believe he just got married. So congratulations go out to Brian in London. Just want to share that while I see it on the screen. Okay, you did the yard. Go ahead.
All right.
Sorry for that.
So July 16th would be Ginger's 110th birthday. And we're going to talk a little bit about the house. This is a craftsman style, what they call working class bungalow with unique features. And what the city means by that, the Historic Society, is that this house has a big porch with columns on it and a lot of woodwork on the exterior, woodwork trim, which was not really done to the other houses in the neighborhood or by the same builder. This one was on the corner, and we think maybe he just overdid that one a bit, but it's very nice with that front porch.
Do you know what year it was built?
Yes, sometime between 1906 and 1910, because the first time it was rented out was 1910 that we know of. And this picture is actually from a 1942 Life magazine article. I got a hold of that magazine through eBay, and we were able to get some pictures that let us know a lot of things about the house we didn't know, so we could match it and make everything as original as we could. So it was built by Oscar Mindrup, and here is their picture in 1901. This gentleman built 3 houses that are right next to each other, that one and 2 others. And here is the room where Ginger Rogers was born, just inside the front door. And her mother probably had her bedroom in there, right there, just inside the front door. And she was born there. Her mother was separated from her husband, and she worked nearby as a newspaper reporter. Leela had lost a child in the hospital prior to this baby. And so she didn't trust the hospital anymore. So she decided to have the baby at home. And she actually went into labor right after she did a job application nearby. And she walked home. She was 9 months pregnant. She went into labor, called the doctor, and said for him to meet her at the house. And so then she had Ginger right there. And here is Ginger on the front porch of the house as a baby. And then in the front yard, and she used to sit out in the front yard or in the yard where Leela worked. And she would take her to work with her every day and put Ginger out on the yard on a blanket. And that is where her father later kidnapped her from.
What did Leela do for work?
Leela, well, she was a writer and a newspaper reporter. And she had been to stenography school. So she was a typist and stenographer, and she was a real go-getter. You're going to hear a little bit more about her in a minute. She her father kidnapped Ginger 2 times. He actually moved to Texas with his girlfriend and kidnapped her, and no one would help. The police couldn't help. And so Leela says, well, I'm going to do it myself. So she hopped on a train. She went to Texas. She got in a taxi, went to William Eden's house, and she went up to the front door. The door was open. Just the screen door was closed, and she could see Ginger in there in her high chair. So, and nobody was around. So she ran in and got her and then left town. It was quite a story. It's in Ginger's book called Ginger, My Story. Now, something of interest is some of her ancestry that people find to be interesting. Her second great-grandfather was Dr. John Sappington from Arrow Rock. He was a landowner, an importer, exporter, lumber miller, and doctor. And he was married to Jane Breathitt, who was the sister of the Kentucky governor. So then he got involved in politics by getting two of his sons-in-laws elected to the office of governor of Missouri, and also his grandson. So he had 3 governors were put into office because of his money. He was very good friends with Thomas Hart Benton. In fact, he borrowed money from Thomas Hart Benton in order to move to Missouri because he was told that there was a lot of opportunity here and a lot of cheap land. And that's indeed what he did take advantage of. Now, this is a picture of him. So that portrait by Thomas Hart Benton was a little jazzed up, I think. But here he is. He did invent a pill in order to prevent malaria and also cure malaria and some other diseases. So that's why he became very famous. And here is a picture of the quinine pills that he called anti-fever pills.
Marge, you mentioned a book that Ginger wrote. Is that your definitive book? If anybody wants to learn more about Ginger, is that the book you would point them to, or is there?
Yes, because Ginger wrote that herself in order to clear up any misconceptions or rumors that were out there. So she went into some great detail about all of her relationships, her life, and in fact, almost every one of her films that she did and her shows. So there's a lot of good information in there.
And I just added a link to that, to the book from your website so that people can pick it up there and support the museum at the same time.
Great. I appreciate that. It's available as a hardback or as a paperback. So this is just, one of the governors, Claiborne, Fox Jackson, John Sappington, Marmaduke. They were all Confederates, by the way. And this is the museum in Arrow Rock where Ginger Rogers visited, and that is in that 1942 Life magazine article. So when Life magazine came out, they went to the house where she was born, and they came to Arrow Rock. Then Leela Owens McMath, Ginger Rogers' mother, she wrote vaudeville scripts. She actually, when she started out here in Independence as a writer, newspaper writer, and then she got interested in Hollywood, and she decided to write a script about how people were mistreated in prisons. She took it to Hollywood. They thought it was great. They were going to do something with it, but in the meantime, they asked her to write some other scripts. So she ended up writing movies, and she became very, very well known in Hollywood. But she was also a very scrappy person. She actually joined the Marines in 1919. She was one of the first 10 women to be in the Marines. She produced a lot of films for them, so she got a lot of experience. Then Leela was also Ginger's agent and manager for her entire life until Leela passed on. She was very instrumental in Ginger's success. I don't think there would have been a Ginger Rogers if there hadn't been a Leela Rogers. So here is a part of a newspaper article from 1919. She was in the Marine Corps. Somehow, Leela managed to make herself the poster girl for the Marines and publicity and get attention. And I am positive that she wrote this entire article. If you're interested in it, it's available online, and it's in her style. So I think that's what happened.
So she was very good at self-promotion.
Oh, yes. She most definitely was. And she was getting experience as she went along to get ready for Hollywood. So in 1915, Ginger moved in with her grandparents while her mother made a trip in order to get an essay she'd written made into a film. And then she actually got hired by Fox Studios for that, but then also later as a producer and as a trainer for actors. This picture is Ginger with her grandpa Smokey in Kansas City. And we are not too sure of the exact address. I'm still trying to do research on that. There are a couple of mistakes in Ginger's book, and one of them is the address where her grandparents lived. So we're still trying to work that out. Here she is performing at the Kansas City Club at age 10. She did a song and dance routine. So with her mother's interest in Hollywood and the theater, Ginger's early exposure to the stage sparked her interest. While she was waiting for her mother in the wings of the Majestic Theater, she began to sing and dance along with the performers on stage. At that point, Leela was a Hollywood and theater writer for a Texas newspaper. So she was covering all of these shows, and that's why Ginger was there. She won this Texas State Charleston contest at age 14. And after that, she and Leela went on the road. So they are traveling around the country with Ginger and the Redheads. So with two other girls with her. Ginger was a natural redhead and or auburn, something close to that. And then later Hollywood made her a platinum blonde.
Hey, Darren, maybe we should have that
Poll
survey question. Yeah, the poll question that Marge
That's
offered.
right. I was thinking the same thing. Everybody here, you're going to see a poll pop up on your screen. How old was Ginger when she modeled for her first newspaper ad? What do you think? She was 5, she was 10, she was 18 months old, or she was 16? How old? And there are 2 votes. It's either for 5 or 18 seems to be the consensus.
I see we have some people here who've done their research.
I told you we have a very, very informed audience. We really do.
I can see that. Yes, she was 18 months old when she did. Her mother had her pose for her first newspaper ad.
Wow, that's great.
Is there a copy of that ad anywhere?
Yes, I can post it on the website. I don't have it at the moment, but I've got it somewhere, so I can post it on the website.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we'd love to see it.
Yeah. So her mother actually had her doing things very early. Ginger writes in her book that she never had any formal dance training, but I met a man whose uncle taught Ginger Rogers dance in Lee Summit, Missouri. And he has a picture of him holding Ginger's hand and doing a dance routine. So I still have to do some research on that, but I think that's probably true.
But when you think of the time period, that seems like a personal relationship that she'd be getting training just almost in the wings type of thing. And I think that was a lot more prevalent years ago. Now, when we think of formal training, it's in a studio, it's with a certified teacher. I think she just may not be considering all of those personal lessons formal training.
Well, I think this guy had a dance studio, so I kind of think Leela took her to the dance studio.
That sounds pretty formal.
Yeah, it is a little formal. But maybe she didn't do it for that long. Now I cannot get my slide to change here.
Well, go ahead. You sort that because I haven't. Oh, you got it.
Okay. So just a little bit about Leela. She taught acting classes for many students at RKO. You might recognize one of those ladies there in the center. Is Lucille Ball.
That was when she was a blonde and not a redhead.
Yes. That's before yes, and I have a whole story about the redhead business, but
Pop, I don't think 1 week can go by that we don't talk about Lucy. She's everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I met Marie Behar, Ginger Rogers' goddaughter. She lived in London. She died last year, unfortunately, but I got to have a 3-hour conversation with her not too long before she died. And she gave me the scoop on why Lucy's hair is red. So if you want to hear that sometime.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I want to hear it. Yeah.
Okay. Her uncle was a Hollywood makeup artist and hair artist, and he did everybody's hair. And Lucille Ball was having a difficult time, and they were not promoting her. They were just keeping her as a starlet, basically. They weren't going to make her a star. And Leela saw that Lucy had it in her, and she insisted. She walked into RKO and she says, "If you fire Lucy, Ginger and I are gone." So this is very early in Lucy's career. But then Marie Behar's uncle, I cannot remember his name right now, but he's very famous. He told Lucy, he said, "If you want to just stay doing what you're doing, leave your hair alone. Otherwise, let me dye your hair red." And she gave in, and she dyed it red, and then the rest is history.
And I believe the movie Dewberry Was a Lady was the first film where she appeared as a redhead, and she never stopped after that.
Yeah.
Wow. We also got a write-in from Dan saying that the image that we're looking at, Ginger 1933 on a movie set, is the set of Professional Sweetheart. That image. Yeah.
And that looks like a pre-code movie.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So I know one of your questions is about this, but they did make 10 films together, Fred and Ginger, from 1933 to 1939. They introduced dance routines of unprecedented elegance and virtuosity. Some of them are just amazing. Well, all of them are. And here we go. My favorite one on the left.
There it is. Wow.
Okay, we did a hop, skip, and a jump over the Busby Berkeley films that she did, where she sang in Pig Latin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
We should show a clip of that sometime.
Yes.
What a lot of people don't know is that she was a very avid tennis player. In fact, she had a pro tennis court installed at her house, and the pros came over to practice on it. So she got some good lessons. And in fact, she won a racket from a pro tennis player that we have. We have that racket. And you're going to see that in just a minute. Here she is going over costume sketches, and I'm going to go through these really quickly because
there's Mom. Yep.
Yeah, that was Mom. We are going to do a virtual tour, and I want to have enough time to get through that. Here we go.
So she had her hair changed as well.
Wow.
Yes. They made her a platinum blonde, and Leela was not happy when she saw it, but then she realized that really was the best way to go. All the major stars had blonde hair. And if you want to see why Ginger won the Charleston contest, watch this movie, Roxy Hart.
Yeah.
She does an unbelievable dance routine that is the Charleston, and I had absolutely no clue before I watched that movie how complicated it could be.
And if you fast forward several decades, she appears on the Lucy show, and she does another Charleston with Lucy Arnaz and Lucy.
Yes, she did. So here are her husbands. First, Jack Pepper, and this was, a very short-lived. She ran off with him. Leela was not happy at all. He turned out to be a rascal, and she left and divorced him. Then the love of her life was Lou Ayres, and she writes about this in her book. And here is their wedding cake, and you can see who the star of the show is there very clearly. Then she married Jack Briggs, who was a Marine, but he also worked on movie sets at the same time Ginger was there. They hadn't met until later. And then he became an actor. And I would imagine that would have been at her idea for him to do that. And then Jacques Bergerac.
Well, Lou Ayres was an actor also.
Yes, he was. And then William Marshall, he was an actor too. But this guy was not very nice. He was a stinker. Ginger didn't talk about him too much, but I spoke with someone who knew him and knew her at the same time. And he said this guy was just a real jerk. And they did not live together in New York. They lived in separate places. They were separated. So she is in the 1970s performing her Nightclub Act. And we do have a program from that time period that we have available on the store. She was also an excellent artist in using different types of media. She was a very, very talented lady. And here's a little cartoon from Hello, Dolly. And there she's playing in Auntie Mame with her mother. She also performed at the Starlight Theater in Kansas City. And at that time, the mayor of Kansas City gave her a key to the city. She visited her birth house several times. Here she is sitting on the front porch of the house. Here she is in 1964 for Ginger Rogers Day, declared by President Harry Truman at the Truman Library. I have a tape recording of the event, but it is such poor quality that I'm not going to play it. Hopefully we can get that cleaned up someday, but it's pretty bad. So here she is. They did an entire day. They did a parade. They had a huge event at the courthouse, and then they went to the Truman Library. And this picture was in horrible condition. It took me about 8 hours of work on it to get it into decent shape. Then the house itself was declared an historic landmark property in 1994 by Mayor Ron Stewart. And here is Ginger Rogers with Mayor Stewart holding the plaque and his wife, Marilyn Stewart, behind him. Marilyn donated a dress that Ginger wore later in life. So we have that as well.
What? How old was she at that point?
Oh, she was 83. It was a few months before she died. So we purchased the property in 2016. It had never been open to the public before then. This is what it looked like at that time. And the side, you can see this house color, kind of a pale peach color. It was not original. The restoration project was done by my husband, Gene. And here's the very first thing we did was the chimney, because it was clogged and backing up carbon monoxide. And so the people before us were living in a house with carbon monoxide in it. And what we did, you can see this picture, there's no chimney. We took a 1942 picture to see how the chimney was built and reconstructed it exactly as it was. And we had to take some of the floors down completely and restart from the studs. The back wall of the house was not on the sill. It was not supported by anything. And how it stood for that long, we don't know. And here's the bathroom before with the original clawfoot tub and corner sink. And
I love that corner sink. Look at that little thing.
Yeah, that's so unique. It was in terrible condition. That's the condition it was in. And we had it restored. It cost $450 to have that sink restored, but we had to save it. So this is a kitchen before. Nothing was original in this kitchen. This was all from the 1940s. So we also had to repair the stone foundation walls. It took 4 masons 4 weeks to do this repair. And then there was also a lot of damage on the outside done by this huge tree that the roots had grown into. Here's the bathroom as it's going.
Wow.
So obviously this was a labor of love for you.
Oh, it definitely was. It took a lot of man hours, a lot of work. You see that how close that bathroom tub was to the door?
Mm-hmm.
My husband actually moved the wall back 4 inches just to give 4 inches more space. Pushed it into a closet. Yeah, this is the dining room, and you'll notice in pictures coming up that it looks a little bit different. See, all the woodwork is original. All the windows are original. There's a faux tin ceiling in the kitchen that we left because it would have been period. Here's a kitchen during construction. And the window, the story about this window was on the left side and was really taking up a lot of space. You could see that. It was in a really awkward place. We had to go to the City of Independence, the historic department, go to a hearing and have them inspect the house to get that window moved.
Because it's on the outside of the building.
To all look original.
Yeah.
And there were 3 major joists in the underneath the house that were split. So we had to go in and sister joists and resupport everything and bring that floor up. It was a lot of extra work just to restore that property. Now here you can see the sink, the kitchen window has been moved. And that's the faux tin ceiling and under construction. Now I'm going to skip this because I'm going to do a 3D tour here.
All right, here before we go into this 3D tour, I just want to take a moment to let everybody know about what's going on, what we have coming up, similar to today's program. So let me pull that up here. There we go. So everyone, if this is your first time or if you've been with us before, you know that every Monday we are doing these types of programs. Once a month we do a virtual road trip, and we're actually lucky this month we have 2 virtual road trips. We're next heading to the Molly Brown House Museum. So
she's a survivor of the Titanic, and they nicknamed her the unsinkable Molly Brown.
And also Kathy Bates played her in Titanic, correct?
Yes.
Yep. So we have the Molly Brown House. We have the Edward Hooper House. Hopper House. We have James Dean Museum. That's a new one that just came in, as well as the Jackson Pollock Museum in East Hampton. So that's pretty close to us. We're going to have to visit there in person one day. And lastly, on the calendar thus far takes us to October, and we're going to the Museum of Western Film History, which sounds very cool. Next week, we mentioned at the top of the show, is the John Wayne story. We hope you'll join us for that to learn more about the Duke himself. And also looking forward to August, we have the 50th anniversary of All in the Family. There's a lot more to tell you about, but I'm going to stop there and let's get back to our 3D virtual tour. All right, so Marge, you should be able to take the screen again. There you go.
Yep. Okay, so this is just inside the front door. And right here, we've got a wood stove exactly where it was installed to begin with. So they would have heated their house and maybe even cooked at that location. We're not sure. And right here, we have the Ginger Rogers rose. Want to look that up. There was a rose named after her. I am trying to get a hold of that rose. So if anybody has any cuttings they can send me, please let me know. So this is the living room. And
is that furniture authentic from the time period, or is that?
We purchased antique furniture to go in here. There was nothing in the house. So all of this stuff was purchased. This couch was actually my grandparents' 1921 couch, which I kept. So I have that back.
And there's a rotary phone.
Yeah, this is from the 40s. A friend of mine donated that. I purchased this lamp is really cool. It is from the 1920s.
Wow.
And it has lights inside and then also at the top. Here is a self-portrait by Ginger out of charcoal.
And I noticed a few copies of the book sitting over there. That's a significant book.
Let me just, yes, this is a pretty big, yeah, I suggest the hardback because it's got nice big type and it's easy to read. And we're gonna, I'm just gonna swing through here. We've got, of course, we had a corner dedicated to Leela Rogers, and we managed to get a typewriter in 1910. It would have been something similar to what she would have actually been typing on. And a camera from that time period as well.
You know, Marge, while we're talking about Leela, I wanted to launch this earlier. I'm curious, which of Leela E. Rogers' films have you seen? Of course, she wasn't starring in all of these, wrote many of them, but which ones have you seen? And this is multiple choice. You can click on as many as you have witnessed. So let's see. The Major and the Minor. All right, some votes. Cupid by Proxy, 1918. And I wonder, do you know where you could even see these days? Does Amazon have this?
Well, The Major and the Minor is very popular. That's on Turner Classic quite often.
Yeah. The others I have never seen. I've never been able to find them.
TCM, are they coming out with their own app soon? It's kind of like Amazon Prime?
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought. No, I thought I heard they're partnering with somebody so that we can get all of these.
Yeah,
videos.
they're partnering with HBO.
There it is. All right, but yeah, Major and the Minor definitely taking the lead. And we do have votes. We have people have seen Women Won't Tell, Cupid by Proxy, The Lady in the Library, The Understudy, The Climber. Would you recommend, what is that, Tangatika? Would you, or Cupid, Bonnie, Annie, and Laurie? I'm looking at the ones that no one has seen, Marge.
Yeah, I have not seen those either.
No, The Little Parrot.
I believe that she probably wrote the scripts for these.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, she did.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad to see that we have a number of votes that we're seeing.
Yeah. Major and the Minor. She did a great job on that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Playing Ginger's mother. And the story behind that is they had another actress that was slated to do it, and at the last minute she couldn't do it, and they're sitting around the table, and Leela just says, "Okay, I'll just do it." So she did, and they knew she could, and she did. She pulled it off.
Is that the tennis racket you mentioned earlier?
Yes. Let me get this down. Yeah, there's the tennis racket up there. Let me just come into here real quick. This is the dining room area, and we had lots of cool displays. Here's a key to the city that was presented by Harry Truman, and a pair of her shoes, and a 1942 doll from that time period. And then these dolls, this one, and these two dolls are for sale that we have in our store. This doll was the only doll that Ginger sat for or approved of. None of these other dolls that were made, she never received a dime from. It did not approve them using her likeness for. But somehow they got away with it. So let's move real quickly.
Could you also tell us about those milk jars I saw up at the top?
Well, this is from the Rogue River Ranch. Okay, these milk bottles. She had a ranch and a dairy farm, and they sold milk. And this is her hat as well. It was donated by someone. She loved that ranch in Oregon. That's where she went away to get away from Hollywood, because she didn't like to have to be all glamorous all the time and be perfect for everybody. She needed to have a break, and she could do it on that ranch. She was an avid fisherwoman. She loved fishing as well. She could do a lot of things. So let's just real quickly, I want you to see the kitchen, because you saw what that looked
sketches,
like before.
Did she do those sketches too? Or
No. These sketches were done by the designers.
Okay.
And I just copied them and blew them up.
Okay. Did Edith Head do any of her costumes?
I think she did. I can't remember which ones, though. There were so many movies.
Mm-hmm.
There were 73 movies that she did. So But this iconic picture we left with the house. Anyway, here's the kitchen. As you can see, there was a lot done to it. We could not get 1910 appliances, obviously. So we got 1940s style appliances from GE and tried to make everything look as period as possible. Now, I just want to show you this real quick because I'm going to be putting this on the website. I worked for 18 months on her family tree. And so going back, you can see the Sappingtons were on her father's side right here, but also of interest, everybody was of Welsh or English or Scottish descent in her ancestry. And then also we've got 3 people, 2 on her father's side, 1 on her mother's side, who fought in the Revolutionary War. So, I mean, I like history and genealogy, so that's why I got into that. So let me turn around and go back out of the kitchen. We even have a 1910 phone on the wall.
Now, being the house is a historic home, you can't really do too much in terms of renovations in there now.
Yes, you can do the inside all you want, but that's why we kept it original. I mean, we even took every single hinge off and got all the paint and everything off and put it back to original. All the woodwork, everything is as it was. Of course,
Marge, you really did it. You really did it right, restoring the original, the interior as well. But just being on the National Register only protects elements of the exterior walls.
Right.
That's why Marge had all the trouble with that window, because it's outward facing, and you have to go an appeal. And
also, let me come back here for just a second. You see this door? Obviously, that's not the door, and it's not from the time period. That's the only thing we left that we didn't change, because we had a door ready to go, but we didn't get it installed before it sold. So hopefully these new owners will change it out to original. Now, I just want to point out a couple of things in here. This is Leela's sewing machine from 1927, and it's the one that she used to create this dress for Ginger. So here she is when Ginger's 15, and then here Ginger is 30, remodeling that dress. And then let me turn around here, and we're going to take a look at some of these outfits, okay? First, right here, I want you to see this. This is a stylized painting that Leela Rogers did of her with Ginger in the 1950s. Okay, here's a gown that was donated by a big fan, Christine McDonald. This was from, we believe, the 1970s Ginger Rogers show. Now, it did have a clip here. It should be here put together in the middle, but this size 4 mannequin dress form here is too big for it to close. So Ginger was very tiny. And then here is a dress, another dress that she wore. And this is actually, she wore that for one of her programs. So it's on the back of one of her programs. And then if we come down here, you get a little closer. You see this pink gown. We know it's hers because Roberta Olden donated it to us and it was in her collection. But Roberta Olden was Ginger's assistant for the last 18 years of her life. We have not been able to determine exactly where this was worn. One of the Ginger Rogers fans found a picture in black and white that may be this gown that she was wearing when she went out to a nightclub one time. But the big deal is right here. This gown was worn by Ginger for the 1967 Academy Awards presentations that she and Fred did. And then Fred twirled her around a little bit on the stage before they presented. It's a fantastic gown. And let me just run through. Here is what the bath looks like now.
Wow. That's remarkable.
Yep.
And that's the extra 4 inches?
That's the extra 4 inches. You can see the tub was here. Now it's here. just to allow a walkway here, a little bit extra walking, because people weren't using this bathroom when the museum was open. They were using we added a powder room in the back. So they're walking through here all the time. And of course, we had memorabilia and things up on the walls. All of this hardware, this is from Signature Hardware. That is, period. There's $1,500 worth of hardware in that bathroom. And there is the sink restored. Little things like that. I mean,
Marge,
get into
what, where is all of this now? Being the home is sold now.
Yeah, I have everything in storage, and we are going through one by one and photographing each item, as well as creating a virtual tour. Like I said, that's going to be about 4 hours long. We're also going to include people who knew her. We're going to have interviews with people who knew her for this virtual tour. And it should be done in about 2 months.
Can we please come back for that? Let's.
I will definitely let you know about that.
Not 4 hours, though.
Not 4 hours, right. So this is the room where Ginger was born. It's a little tiny 9x9 room.
Wow.
If you can imagine. So we fixed it up as a nursery, and we got time period products and items and furniture in here. But this little chair right here has caused us some trouble. This chair is haunted. And it came from elsewhere. It's not Ginger Rogers. It's a little girl ghost that two of us have actually seen getting up out of this chair and walking into the other room. So, and then of course this would have been a period dress that Leela would have worn at that time period. And I'm going to try to see let me go right here. So I want to show you a picture. Here it is, right here. This picture right here is the one that Leela used to make that stylized painting of her holding Ginger. So,
Marge, we have a question. Oh, that's great. Did Ginger have any children, grandchildren? If so,
no.
What did they do? No.
Ginger did not ever have any children. She was married to the theater. She said it was either Hollywood or children. She didn't feel like it.
Was she very religious?
She was. She and her mother were both religious, and they're very, very devoted to the church. And she believed that their prayers saved her stepfather, John Rogers, when he was very ill one time. So she was very devoted to that. And she did not believe in taking medications. In fact, later on, one of her husbands said he had to sneak medication into her food so that she would have it because she didn't want to take it.
Okay, I'll tell you my Ginger Rogers story. And we had an actress that was working on one of our programs. And she mentioned that she was living in Hollywood and they were having the 100th birthday of George Burns. And it was a big TV special. They did invite audience members to sit in the background, but the audience was comprised of everybody in Hollywood celebrating George Burns. Everybody, Jack Benny and Bob Hope, everybody was there. And on the second tier was Ginger Rogers.
Oh.
And my actress was enamored with her. She just wanted to meet her. And she walked across, went up the tier, and at this point, Ginger was a little bit larger, older, and she was sitting down in the chair, and she went over to her and she said, "Miss Rogers, there are so many stars in this room, but you're the only one. I would love to have your autograph." And she looked at her and she said, "Sure, honey, what's your name?" And she got a piece of paper and she was signing it. And then she said, "Excuse me, And Ginger reached into her gown, into her bosom, and pulled out a Kleenex, blew her nose, and put it back inside again. So that was her, meeting her idol. That was her memory of meeting Ginger Rogers at that point in her life.
Oh my.
Yeah.
What a story.
Wow. Well, Marge, this really has been outstanding, and we have so many thanks in the chat as well, saying that this has been a phenomenal tour. So really, thank you.
Yeah, you did an incredible job, and we wish you much success. I know you're going through a huge transition right now without the house and trying to get an online presence. Darren, do we have her website?
Oh, yeah, we do. I have, while I pull that up, we have one more poll question for everyone. Seems apropos. What's your favorite Ginger Rogers film? I only listed a few. There are a lot to choose from, but I put up just a few. Bachelor Mother, 42nd Street, Kitty Foyle, Swing Time, and Top Hat. So go ahead. If you're on Facebook, you can write in your favorite.
I would have thrown Monkey Business in there too.
Oh yeah, that's actually my favorite film.
Oh, look
Marge, at the two. You and I think alike.
It is hysterical. It's so funny. She was a great comedic actress.
Yeah, Cary Grant and Marilyn, I think, is in that film too.
Yes, they were all three great.
If I got it wrong, we can have a write-in ballot. Use the chat. Let me know if Monkey Business should take it. But it looks like we have a consensus, and it's going to be Top Hat. Top Hat for first place. Look at that. And just taking second is 42nd Street, followed by Swing Time, Kitty Foyle, and then Bachelor Mother. Wow.
We're in the money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was 42nd Street. Yeah.
All right, everybody. I know you want to know more. How can you get involved? It's right here, owensrogersmuseum.com. That's where you can go to learn more. Lots of information all about their lives, about their careers. And what's really great here, you can see these are the dolls that we were talking about. You can take a look at them, learn more about them, and of course, you can also buy one if you want to bring part of Ginger's history home with you. There's also a store where you can lots of memorabilia that you can buy. Here are those bottles we were looking at earlier, and some art as well. You can also find the book that we recommended right there, Ginger My Story. That's in hardback, paperback. There's also this one by Leela Rogers, and you were recommending this earlier, right, Marge?
Yes, this is only 18 pages, but there are only a few of these available, and Leela does a great job showing Ginger Rogers a lot of pictures and a lot of history.
That's great. Lastly, here is the event we alluded to earlier. It's a Ginger Rogers birthday celebration and presentation. This is going to be the 4 hours, right?
This is a 2-hour one.
A 2-hour one.
This is 2 hours.
Okay, yes. We'll get there.
We're getting there.
4 hours.
Surely.
4 hours. We need to get you on our 24-hour salathon. That'll be great. 4 hours. But you can register right here, $10, July 18th. It's coming up. Great way to have some fun. You can, of course, follow them over on Facebook, Ginger Rogers International Fan Club. You can also follow Sal on social media as well. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Sal, you can often find on Twitter. And you can see today's presentation on YouTube as well as our homepage. Right there, salstgeorge.com. Sign up for all the lectures we talked about last time. Our virtual road trips right here. We're going to Molly Brown House, the unsinkable Molly Brown. Lots of programs coming up next month. And next week, the John Wayne story. So we hope to see you then. Thank you everyone for joining us. And Marge, thank you so much for making this happen. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great fun.
It was exceptional. Thank you so much,
It really
Marge.
was, Marge. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I'm going to watch your presentation next week.
Oh, good. Yeah, come on down.
Sure.
Are you a John Wayne fan?
Oh yeah, I'm an Everybody fan.
Yeah, we went to the John Wayne Museum also.
Yep.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
It's this history. It's this timeline. It's entertainment history, and
that's it.
We just love it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.